People are going, well, the Buckeyes gave up a lot of yards their last couple of games, Michigan and Utah in the Rose Bowl. I get it, but I love this hire. 35 years old. I think it will be outstanding. I hear he's a pretty good recruiter as well. And then the Tiger basketball team takes to the floor. That will be tonight, late at FedEx Forum at 8 o'clock against the dreaded Tulsa Golden Hurricane, who have had Penny's number. They have won 3 in a row against Penny and 4 of 5. And in those last 4 games, Memphis, which averages almost 80 points a game, has scored 53 against that matchup zone. Going inside, Penny said on his radio show yesterday, going inside will be the key, finding the seams in that zone, which it's a matchup zone, right? So it starts out with certain principles, looks like it's a 2-3, and then it kind of morphs, and you got to understand what's going on. It's pretty complicated. And I think this team will be up to the task. Vegas thinks so. They are 13.5-point favorites. Bruce Howard, the voice of the Golden Hurricane for many, many years, is going to join us at 10:12. As always, Jeff Moore will be on hand to wrap up this 17th week. Remember, there's 18 weeks because of the bye week, 17-game schedule. And, there's a little dilemma here. If you're a guy that is very detail-oriented and pays attention to stats, and let's just say somebody breaks a team record, a league record, and they do it in the 17th game. This is a little like when baseball went from 154 games to 162. Do we, in this very beginning, I could see down the road years from now how that might come into play. And it may end up going to 18 for all we know. But do you, and I'll ask Zach Boyd, I'll ask you this question. If a guy breaks a record that has stood within 16 games, and yet now there are 17 games, and he does it in the 17th game, is that a legit record in your mind?
That's kind of hard. It's really hard to say, because so for example, like for the Dallas Cowboys, Trey Diggs has 11 interceptions.
Yeah,
through 16 games, and for the Cowboys of 16 games, that is tied for their franchise history.
Okay, so if he gets in Game 17 the 12th, do you recognize that as the team record? Because he did it in an extra game that no other Cowboys ever had that opportunity.
Right. And honestly, I deem it as a record because it's up there, but I think separately it needs to have its own separate asterisk as well to let people know, like, it took 11, like,
I think that's fair. Yeah, here's what you do.
It needs a separate asterisk.
Here, in my mind, this is the way this works. You might have an asterisk for the first 5 to 10 years. Once the field is set and we know it's 17 or maybe even 18 games, then that becomes what the standard will be. And later, when all these records get broken all the time anyway, when time catches up, there's no more asterisk. That's just the way it is because there will be a new playing field that is set up the same way it was when you went from 154 to 162. We recognize all those records. All those records were going to get broken anyway. Might as well just figure each generation comes along and surpasses the next generation. That's why you really can't compare generations either. You have to, and this is why I like Halls of Fame, you have to take into account the uppermost percentage, whatever you want to call that percentage, 2%, 5%, 10%, doesn't matter to me. But whatever that percentage is that you think is rare enough to be in a Hall of Fame, you compare them with their era. You don't go back to other eras. And that's the way this should be in the long run. Because there are going to be some records that are broken in Game 17 that people are going to go, wait, that's not fair. But it'll all catch up in time. And frankly, the 17-game era, I don't think it'll last. I think there will be an 18-game season sooner or later. Let's get back to the Grizz. The Grizzlies last night are missing Dylan Brooks, Kyle Anderson. Those are two of their better wing defenders, are they not? Are they not? And they still hold the Brooklyn Nets with KD and Harden to 104 points. What kind of depth does this team have? I'm talking, and there's no Melton, who's one of their better defenders. There's no Tillman. There's no Conchar. They're down 6 guys to COVID. In comes Culver. In comes Clark. Tyus Jones. All 3 of those guys had double figures. Bain was incredible. He had 29 points. He had 5 threes in this basketball game. Just phenomenal. And on top of that, Ja has his 36. In the week, he averaged 34 points per game. He's had 4 in a row with over 30. And he did that in New York. So now the argument is not should he be on the All-Star team. The argument now is should he be a starter? Look at who he had these points against. LeBron and the Lakers. He's done it against the Nets. He's done it against the Suns. All right, he did it against the Spurs. Maybe not quite as glamorous the way it used to be, but my goodness, that is amazing. So they are now the number 4 seed, and they've been that way for a while. 4.5 games ahead of Denver in that spot very comfortably. 3.5 games now behind the 3rd seed, Utah. You realize they're closer to Utah than Denver is to them. And even on nights when they're not supposed to win, down 6 guys going into Brooklyn. Brooklyn had lost a couple in a row. They're absolutely going to play as hard as they can. You would think you could say, okay, this is going to be a tough night. I know I had it penciled in as them not winning, but they did. Unbelievable. And they did it in a dominating fashion. They were up 28 points at one time. Pretty impressive stuff. That is for sure. And they'll play at Cleveland tonight. They're 3-point underdogs at Cleveland tonight. And Cleveland's better. They're 5 games over 500. And but Memphis had their number earlier in the year. And this role is pretty darn intense. I mentioned a little earlier how good Tulsa has been against Memphis. Now the Golden Hurricane come in 6-6 in the year, 0-1, losing to SMU in conference play. And their longtime voice, Bruce Howard, joins us. In a minute, I'll let you know this portion of the show is brought to you by Family Leisure. We're in the Family Leisure Studios, but here we go. I told you there'd be another sale, right? Floor model sale. Help make room for the incoming 2022 products. All floor models in this beautiful place at I-40 and Whidden Road are now priced to move. So shop now. Once these floor models are gone, they're gone, right? That's it. So you got to take advantage. Theater seating, massage chairs, arcades, foosball. My favorite thing, the air hockey tables, the shuffleboard tables, pool tables, state-of-the-art, and a whole lot more. Great deals on spas and swimming pools, too. Take advantage because it won't last long. The floor model sale going on right now at Family Leisure. Let's bring in my friend Bruce Howard. The Tulsa Golden Hurricane have had Memphis's number. They've done it with a lot of different guys, including Jariah Horn, whose father played at Memphis. And Bruce, explain this to me. I guess I should understand it. It must be COVID-related because Tyler Harris did the same thing. But Horn was really good for you guys a couple of years ago. Left, went to Colorado, didn't have to sit out, and is back without having to sit out. Is that the COVID thing?
Yeah, that's the extra COVID year. And, heck, we had a football player that played 7 years for us, finished up this year, Christian Williams. So, in this COVID year, I think, to me, and I don't know about you, Dave, the most confusing day of the football season was senior day.
Oh, yeah.
Because, you had all those guys come out and you didn't know how many of them were coming back and all that sort of thing. So, yes, he is coming back on a COVID year.
So, funny thing is, I believe it was Rodney Owen who just announced he was coming back. He actually went through senior day festivities. He had his parents there. They, trotted him out. See ya. It's tearful. We love you. And, and I'm welcoming him back because he's a terrific player. But now he's back. It is a different era for sure. But your guys, same kind of era. You play really good defense. You don't score a whole lot, but you battle. And that seems to always be the way it works with Frank Haith's teams.
Yes, and, battle is probably the best word you used in that entire thing because they really haven't played as good defensively as they have in the past. As you know, with new guys coming in every year, Frank's system is a little bit complex in terms of, the three defense they play, the 3-2 and the matchup and that kind of thing. So it seems every year they kind of have to work their way into evolving as a defensive team, and they have not played as well defensively. And that's one of the reasons why they've lost a few games, especially down the stretch. So it is a team that is a work in progress. It's in some ways similar to Memphis in that you're really not sure how well they're going to play on a day-to-day basis. You win against an Oregon State team that was an Elite Eight team a year ago, but 2 days before that you lose to Air Force, at home. Utah beat Tulsa. In some of these teams they're losing to, Oral Roberts, Boise State, Loyola Marymount. They're not bad teams.
Right.
But Tulsa just simply didn't play well at the end of those games, and that includes SMU, who looks like they're playing pretty well right now. So I think it's going to be a crazy year, Dave, especially with what's happened at Houston. That you don't have any idea what's going to happen on a week-to-week, game-by-game basis in this entire league.
I agree with that. With the loss of Sasser and Mark, you would think that's trouble. But Penny reminded everybody in his radio show last night, the thing about Kelvin Sampson teams are its defense and physicality. So even though they've lost scorers, that they're going to be good. Tell me a little bit more about Horn, because I know he grew up in Kansas, but his dad did play for Memphis and was really a solid guy. Why did he leave? Why did he come back?
That's an interesting question. And, you mentioned his dad, Jarrell, was a teammate of Penny's in 92, 93. So, Jariah, he came from Nebraska to Tulsa, played a year in Nebraska, played a couple of years at Tulsa. I think at the end of that season, he kind of felt that he wanted to go to Colorado to have perhaps a better chance to reach the NCAA. That's one of the reasons I think he moved there and went there and played reasonably well. He wasn't a star there, but he averaged 10 points a game, 6-7 rebounds a game, and was certainly a helping sort of player for them. But then, when it was all said and done, his relationship with Frank Haith and the coaching staff here was so good, and with some of the players, he just felt that he had kind of unfinished business. Come back and help Tulsa, and I think obviously we're glad he decided to do that, because he's actually evolved a little bit as a player. When he left Tulsa, he was a really good shooter and decent rebounder and that sort of thing, but his offensive game has evolved. The mid-range game is better. Driving to the basket is better with him, at this point. So what we're seeing is even a little bit better version of Jariah Horn than we saw before.
Well, he's statistically amazing, leading you in points, in rebounds by far, by blocks. He's up there in steals. He's been significant for sure, and you're top heavy because he's got 16 and a half. Sam Griffin has 16 in the third, and then nobody else has double digits on your team.
Right. And, you're kind of looking for that third guy, and occasionally it's Darian Jackson. Tim Dalger has come in and kind of, done a nice job, although his last game was not a especially good game. But, I think it's really important, especially in a game like tonight with Memphis, that they get something inside, and Ray Idowu is their best inside player. But he's been somewhat, inconsistent. Played pretty well last year against Memphis, averaging 10 points a game in the 2 games against the Tigers. So he's a guy that really is going to have to stand tall for Tulsa tonight against that really good Memphis teams. But yeah, you're always looking for that third guy, and I don't think Coach Haith, it doesn't matter to him which guy, as long as they do have a third guy that maybe has double figures. But so far that's been a little bit inconsistent, and honestly, down the backstretch when Tulsa's had some struggles, it's been Jariah Horn or Sam Griffin who has kind of tried to put the team on their back, so to speak, and have probably not taken as good a shot as Frank Haith would like at the end. Everybody does this a little bit, tries to play the hero ball type thing. And I think when you have 2 main scorers, you probably have a tendency to do that a little more than if you had a more balanced, kind of a more balanced attack. But that's obviously something they're trying to establish.
Knowing this history, and Penny's 1-4 against you. He's lost 3 in a row. What do you expect tonight at FedEx Forum? Late night, by the way. We should point out to everybody, it's an 8:00 game.
Yeah, it's a little bit late. I'm expecting that Memphis will come out with a lot of energy. Obviously, they just drilled Wichita State the other day. Goodness, that was a very, very impressive performance. So I think if Tulsa is able to maybe take that first body blow or two that they would expect in the first 10 minutes of the game, if they can do that and kind of hang in there, Tulsa historically has not been a very fast starting team anyway. So that'd be the big thing for Tulsa, I think, early on is to play good defense, and especially this obviously happened in the Wichita State game. You better get back. You can't have live ball turnovers, and you certainly can't have, fast break situations. You have to transition back and make Memphis play, half court. So I think those things are really important, especially early in the ball game, and then see what happens as we get into a flow. But clearly, the size and the rebounding ability for Memphis against Tulsa is just a huge factor in the game. And if Memphis plays volleyball with the Hurricane, then it'll be a long night for Tulsa. But if Tulsa's able to physically, box them out and do that sort of thing, I think Tulsa's, obviously got a chance.
Just out of curiosity, you guys came Sunday night. Why so early?
Well, they, with situations with flying and that sort of thing, they decided that they were going to bus this one. And so as a result of that, not wanting to have it dead-legged guys, 6-hour bus ride on a Monday, they decided to try and get that out of the way on Sunday. And then had a full day yesterday to work out and watch tape and that sort of thing. And you probably wouldn't do this sort of thing, that often if you were not, if you were in class. If you had class and stuff, you probably wouldn't be doing it this way. But since classes don't begin until next Monday, why not? I mean, you got the guys in an NBA situation here for about 3 or 4 weeks in the month, and you have their undivided attention, hopefully, and probably doesn't matter a whole lot where you are, and you might as well get to Memphis, and as much as we love Memphis and love to be here, the cold weather hasn't allowed anybody to really get outside a whole lot.
No, it's weird. You go from 60, 65 degrees, even 80 last week to, or at least in the 70s, I shouldn't say 80. But to this, it actually is not good for colds. That is the truth. Are you guys bussing back right after the game?
Correct.
Ooh, be a long night for you, Bruce Howard. A long.
Well, I'm just glad I'm not driving it. They don't allow me to drive the bus, so
there you go.
I'll be back there probably either doing work or dozing off or whatever. So it takes me back to my baseball days.
There you go. Always a pleasure chatting with you. I can't wait to see you tonight.
Absolutely, man. Always good to talk to you.
Bruce Howard, longtime voice of the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. We got to take a quick break, and then we'll turn our attention to football, the National Football League. What a nice sort of a heartwarming story we saw last night with Big Ben. And we'll talk about that with Jeff Moore in a minute. I'll let you know this portion of the show brought to you by Old Dominick, proud partners of the Tigers, located in the heart of downtown Memphis. Old Dominick will offer full distillery tours, curated tastings, craft cocktails at their bar. They got a cool bar. All you got to do is visit olddominick.com and follow Old Dominick on Facebook or Instagram for the latest news, releases, and cocktail recipes. And you can ask your favorite Memphis spirit shop where you can find Old Dominick products for the big game, like tonight, because they're everywhere, including like my friend Eddie Connor at the Spirit Shop. Just go, again, to olddominick.com. And they remind you, share a sip responsibly. We'll share the NFL with you, with Jeff Moore, in just 1 minute.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Whether it's Miramichi, Cherokee, Galloway, or any of the numerous courses around town, you'll find me, Sheldon Rosengarten, with Marks Bensdorf Realtors, stinking up the course, because I've been known as the worst golfer in town. But along with that tag, people often say that when it comes to selling homes, when you want the job done, call Shell Done. Yes, I spend most of my time making sure my clients get the absolute best and most successful strategic marketing program. Darn it, I hate hitting triple bogeys, but I'd rather be making my clients more for their homes quicker. And who else is going to tell you that if you're thinking of selling, talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure that Shell Done is one of them. Remember this, write it down. You can reach me, Sheldon Rosengarten, at memphisrelocate.com or 4830546. That's memphisrelocate.com or 4830546. Do it now.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Say there was a place, the perfect place for everything you need for tailgates and patios. Grills and chairs, charcoal and coolers, everything to make a great game or a great day. That perfect place wouldn't be a warehouse. It's East Memphis Ace Hardware. Locally owned and operated at Quince and White Station, East Memphis Ace Hardware is where you'll find Benjamin Moore paints, local plants from local growers, and Black & Decker tools. Around the block, what you need in stock with people who know their tailgates. Welcome to East Memphis Ace Hardware, the home convenience store.
Tire pressure light on? Tread low? Car sliding when you stop? It's time to go down to Milton on the Spot. Serving you at 3 locations: 1684 Getwell Road, 2127 Ellis Presley, and 3691 North Watkins. Memphis' largest supply of new and used tires, all under warranty. Yes, that's warranty on used tires too. Ask about the tire rotation and balance specials. Milton on the Spot on Getwell Road, Elvis Presley, or North Watkins. Here to take care of your every tire need. Milton on the Spot.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again, it's the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Jeff Moore on the National Football League in just a minute. And before we do anything else, I just got from Eli 2 good tickets to tonight's Memphis-Tulsa game. They are Section 108, which is really good, lower bowl, right in the corner. Those are the old George Lapita seats. He loves sitting in a corner. You can see the players. You don't have to move your head a lot, and you have a great view. I'm not kidding. Good seats. So what we're going to do here is the third caller on the AutoZone listener line at 901-360-8255. AutoZone, get in the zone. 901-360-8255. Third caller will give you 2 tickets to the Memphis-Tulsa basketball game. Remember, 8 o'clock start tonight at FedEx Forum. I do want to let everybody know as we get to Jeff here, if you're thinking about that dream home, maybe that renovation, the guy you need to think about is Ken Garland. Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Go to kengarland.com. Once you're there, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about, because you'll see the beautiful dream homes that he has built, palaces, or the renovations, taking older homes, putting all the modern amenities in there. If you are ready, he's ready to help you. And he knows it's a big decision. That's why he works closely with all of his clients, and he makes sure they get what they want, and they should expect quality construction on time, on budget. That's the way it's worked for 2 generations. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. So, Jeff Moore, it was an interesting week. There were 2 significant moments, one heartwarming, one crazy. So let's start with the heartwarming first, and that was Big Ben at home, probably the last time he'll play at Heinz Field, winning and keeping the Steelers in the playoff hunt. Last night was, even though it was Najee Harris's night, it was really all about Big Ben, and that was a nice, warm NFL moment. Good morning. Jeff, you there? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, it was a nice, warm moment for Ben. I think Ben's loyalty to that organization, of course, that organization's loyalty to Ben for 18 years. It was just a great opportunity for them to acknowledge, what he's meant to that organization, being in 3 Super Bowls and winning 2. It was huge. It was great to see because it's obvious that his skills have declined and it's time for him to take a bow. But he's had a great career for that organization.
He really has. And you know what? I mean, if they win against Baltimore next game, they're going to be in. That makes that a significant game. We'll get into the playoff picture in a little bit. But the other moment is the crazy moment, and that's Antonio Brown absolutely losing his mind. You've played in the National Football League. You've been in this radio show covering the NFL for us for 30 years. Have you ever in your entire life seen anything like the Antonio Brown moment?
Not only have I not seen it in the NFL level, I don't think I've seen it in college and maybe in high school, more like Little League. It was somewhat pathetic, totally self-centered, and for a guy who's been given the chances that he's been given, kind of insane. But, I mean, it is what it is. I don't like giving a whole lot of attention to this type of behavior because it's from a guy who really doesn't appreciate the opportunity that he's been given. And certainly there's been speculation about his mental health issues, but there's no question he knew what he was doing. And it's just, I'm glad to see him gone, to be honest with you. I'm a guy who's pulled for him to get opportunities in the past because I think he's a great talent. But there's no place for that nonsense. I mean, it's a bad example for younger players. It's no place for that in sports. It isn't.
I'm 100% with you on this one. I find it interesting, too. He's said that he didn't go into the game when Bruce Arians asked him to because he was injured. He'd already caught, I don't know how many passes, 3 or 4 in that game in the first half. Bruce Arians has said now that Antonio Brown never mentioned that he was injured. He just apparently decided he wasn't going to go in. And this is the first speculation was he was trying to get these clauses where he's going with bonuses. He could get up to $1 million, which were pretty easy with the next game. And if they make they're going to make the playoffs. And the playoffs, he would clearly have made the goals that he was looking for, and he just threw those away. And he's sort of pointing the finger, I guess, at Arians. But if Arians is a player coach. The way he works, right. And if you're going to believe one guy or the other, you're going to side with Bruce Arians, aren't you?
Yeah, and of course, if in fact what Antonio Brown is saying is true, that's still a very inappropriate response to take his pants off. I mean, just you just tell him you can't go in. He's not going to beat you up and make you go in. You all talk about it and deal with it later. But that's not the response. It's a childish response, and it's just unfortunate that we have to be, as fans, exposed to that kind of nonsense after all this time.
So now we've seen 11 of the 14 playoff spots are filled. Pittsburgh's still alive with their win last night. Now, if they beat Baltimore, then they'll be in. I believe the Ravens are favored in that game. The other game to look at that is of interest because the winner of the Chargers and the Raiders, and the Chargers, even in Vegas, are the favorite in that game. The winner of that game will be probably in the playoffs. I know the Raiders have to win in order to be in. I think as we added an extra team here, and you're talking final week of the season, this is exactly what Pete Rozelle wanted, right? I mean, you want this kind of parity.
You do, and it's not only for those teams that are just barely getting in, but I mean, you look at a team like Cincinnati, who has come out of nowhere and won the AFC North, and is playing really good football right now. I mean, who would have thought that even going into this season? I mean, it's great for the parity goal to be met, to see that kind of turnaround with teams like that. And of course, the Titans look like they very easily could be the number 1 seed, and they're doing that without their best offensive weapon, who potentially could come back. I mean, it's shaping up to be an exciting playoffs, and even though Green Bay, I think, is the number one seed, and there's no question they've been the most consistent. I see 5 or 6 teams in the NFC that very easily could beat them on any given Sunday. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out in the playoffs. I don't know that the teams that are the number one seed now, that I necessarily think they'll be the ones standing when we're ready to get to the Super Bowl.
Interesting, because I was going to go there with you. Let's start with the Titans, though. And the way it is working out, Derrick Henry entered rehab officially yesterday. So because of that, he would be eligible to play, provided that the first seed can get a bye. He would be eligible to play in the very first game if he's healthy. But my question for you is, and I certainly am not taking anything away from him because he's a great player, but their running game has still flourished even without Derrick Henry, which talks to me about an offensive line that we should really appreciate.
I agree. I think their offensive line has done a great job. But I think just having Derrick Henry in the lineup is going to dictate some defenses that are going to open things up for the passing game that they definitely going to need to be effective in the playoff. They're going to need some balance. And it'll be great if they could get him back on the field. But I agree with you. I think their offensive line has done an outstanding job in Derrick Henry's absence.
Last thing, talking with Jeff Moore on the National Football League, and that is by odds in Vegas, pulling away as MVP is Aaron Rodgers. Hard to argue with what he's done. He's got already locked in the number one seed in the NFC positioned. You sort of said a little bit you're not convinced the number one seeds will remain the number one seeds or win the NFL championship, but wouldn't you have to make Green Bay the favorite at this point?
Oh, yeah. I think they're definitely legitimately the favorite. And I like Aaron Rodgers as the MVP this year. I mean, he's been incredible given the start that they had to their season. I just feel like this year is so balanced, Dave, that, they can be beat. They're not head and shoulders above the other teams in the NFC. They've just played the most consistently, and they've got the best record. So when it gets down to playoff time, things can change. Now, it is to their advantage that, people have to go to Green Bay to beat them, and that's not the greatest place to play if you're a team that's not used to that kind of cold. But it's playoff time. It'll be playoff time, and I think they're a team that can be beat. They're the best team in the NFC, though, right now.
I agree, but you know what? How can you bet against the Rams or Tampa or Dallas or even Arizona that beat Dallas this past week? It's going to be just unbelievable. Can't wait for all these playoffs, and I can't wait till next week when we examine them even further. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Take care.
That is Jeff Moore on the National Football League, brought to you in part by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, electric. It's free furnace time. John does this every year. If you're considering replacing your air conditioning system in the spring, well, January is the slowest month of the year. The warehouse is full. The crews are slow. So to spark business, John says we'll give away a Carrier 80% gas furnace free if you get a standard Carrier air conditioning system. That's right. Get the air conditioning system, state-of-the-art from Carrier, and in the month of January, you get a gas furnace absolutely free. And if that's not enough, John throws in the cleaner, the April Air Cleaner, the 10-year parts warranty, a free Nest thermostat. That's about $2,500 in savings. Plus, get your new system for as low as $139 per month or 12 months interest-free. Everybody could do that, and it's new technology. All you got to do is make the call, 384-3511. Get the free furnace from Conway. Back in a minute, we'll head to Indy. Our friend, the Hall of Famer, Mike DeCourcy on college basketball, but a whole lot more. Mike is right around the corner.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world at sports56whbq.com or on the Sports 56 app.
It's a brand new year.
And yet still here you are.
And now I'm not saying that you should make New Year's resolutions.
But if you did, they should all have something to do with Central Barbecue, right?
You think I'm so predictable?
That's because you are.
I could have been about to say anything.
As long as anything by me telling people to go to Central Barbecue.
Well, yeah.
See, predictable. Still, we do love us some Central Barbecue.
Exactly. So people should resolve to spend plenty of time at one of the 4 locations of Central Barbecue this year.
You know what? You're right.
And you said I was predictable.
I knew you were going to say that.
Hey, you're not Pete.
Hi, everyone. Greg Gaston for FanDuel. Referring a friend on FanDuel Sportsbook could be your ticket to Super Bowl 56. When you refer a friend on FanDuel Sportsbook, you'll be entered for a chance to win an all-expenses-paid trip to Super Bowl 56 for 2. Share your exclusive referral link from the Sportsbook app. Once your friend places any bet of $10 or more, you'll both get $50, and you will be entered into the Super Bowl sweepstakes. If you're new to FanDuel, sign up with promo code GASMAN to get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. You must be 21 or over and present in Tennessee. Referred players must wager $10 or more within 28 days after signing up. Bonus issued as site credit and is non-withdrawable and expires after 7 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. No purchase necessary for the Super Bowl ticket promotion. Super Bowl promotion closes on January 9th. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
I'm Brian Elder, 867-0303. Hurricane season is upon us. Is your roof ready? Are your shingles laying down and sealed properly? Call me right now, 867-0303. They say you get what you pay for. That's why my opinion is free. Maybe you've got years of life left in your roof. If so, I'll tell you that. But if I find storm damage or a compromised roof system, I'll lay out some options for you. Don't let them tell you it needs to be replaced if it only needs a repair. Call me, 867-0303. Has your insurance company already seen it and rejected your claim? Maybe they're correct. Most of the time, they're not. They do tend to become more reasonable once I get involved, though. 867-0303. I'll measure your roof from outer space or BrianElderRoofing.com.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Just saw on First Take on ESPN, one of the talking heads said, right now, the national TV, they just said, ESPN, right now, Ja Morant is the NBA MVP. I'd say clearly he's going to make the All-Star game. There's no question about that. We're going to talk college hoops and really a whole lot more with the Hall of Famer Mike DeCourcy here in just a second. He's brought to you by Eflin, Matt Eflin and the entire Eflin Insurance team, and I love the way they work. They do it differently. They get to know you. That's the whole thing. They're going to fit your needs. They're going to fit your budget all together after they get to know you. They'll do that with your auto program. They'll do that with your home insurance. They'll do that with life insurance. Don't forget about that. And the Eflin Group has you covered with quotes from just a gazillion different, well-respected companies that know how to take care of you. And same thing with commercial insurance. If you've got a small to mid-sized business, the Eflin Insurance team, well, they're specialists in that class. So all you got to do is call my guy, Matt, or you can call Grant, Andrew, or Heath, all part of the team. They're big Tiger fans. They got it in their number. It's 901-386-GER. That's 4777. Get protected the right way with the Eflin Insurance team. I want to start because Mike is a native Pittsburgher, right? Is that what it's like? Chicagoan, Memphian, but it's a Pittsburgher, right? Isn't that what you are? Good morning. Mike, you there? Mike, you there?
Yes, Dave. How are you? Absolutely, I am a Pittsburgher, 100%.
Okay. And so I have to ask you about what I thought was a really cool, kind of warm and fuzzy moment last night in the NFL with the farewell to Ben Roethlisberger. Give me what you think is Big Ben's Pittsburgh legacy.
Oh, I mean, to me, he's the greatest quarterback in Steelers history, and I know that I can get an argument started over that.
You will get one from me, Terry Bradshaw. Come on,
Terry Bradshaw won 4 Super Bowls, although was not a huge factor in the first of those. It was, as a matter of fact, didn't even start the full season in 1974. Had to win the job back from Joe Gilliam from up in I think Tennessee State, I think is where he played.
Yeah.
And so he had to win the job back, and he gradually became a great quarterback, but it took him a very long time. I mean, Ben was a great quarterback almost from the very beginning. Terry, it took a long time for him to be effective and eventually become great. And so, like I said, I could go into Chiodos and Homestead and get a good bar argument going on that,
sure,
if I wanted. But I'm not. I know I'm not alone in that belief. The counting stats that he has rung up are a big part of that. I mean, if you look at, they showed last night, I believe he's one of 3 players with 60,000 passing yards and 400 touchdowns, plus 2 Super Bowls, and the other 2 are Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Pretty good company. But it's more so the fact that he has been elite from the beginning. Of 2004, when he was a rookie, they were 15-1, and he was still a game manager then, but he really started to break out the next year in 2005, and then became extraordinary going forward from there. And with the exception of really this season, has been a star the entire time. And so that I think that's the difference between him and Bradshaw.
I guess when I think about Ben, I think about some issues off the field, and I shouldn't, because that really doesn't count. I also guess I there's too many doggone pickoffs, too many interceptions in key moments for my liking with him. But there is no doubt he is one tough guy. He's played hurts, and he's had that winning attitude that, I think that's when I think of the Bears, I think monsters of the Midway. And when I think of Pittsburgh, I think of the Rooneys, and the fact is after they were terrible for a stretch there, but when they brought Bradshaw and that group turned around, it seems like they've always, beginning with Chuck Noll, I guess, they've always been tough, competitive.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, they have had now they have not had a losing season since 2003.
That's amazing.
I have a friend who covers the team and who's covered them, I think, for 29 years and has covered 3 losing seasons. And one of my favorite stats to come out of last night, it has been 29 years since the Browns finished a regular season with a better record than the Steelers.
I
thought that's an amazing number.
What was Ben's record against them? I mean, it's a little like what Brady is against Buffalo.
I believe it's now 25-3-1.
Yeah, 25-3. That's incredible. I don't think I know not in this new century that Cleveland has won a game in Pittsburgh. They can't win there.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
No.
I mean, they just and last night was the time, I think, when they had the chance coming in because the Steelers are coming off the terrible performance against Kansas City, and they struggled last night. I think they had an extreme wariness of Jadeveon Clowney, and more so on the other side there. And I think they had extreme awareness of Myles Garrett, and the two of them, they wanted to get the ball out quickly, and it to the detriment of the offense. Ben's accuracy wasn't great because of that. The receivers didn't do a great job catching the ball because of that, and I think as a result, you saw a not great performance, but it was the winning performance that they needed.
Let me switch to college football while we're on the football topic. We'll get to basketball. But the dominance of the 2 SEC teams at the top over Michigan and Cincinnati. And, I hear this now. Why would we go to 12 when with 4 teams we can't get great games? Well, I differ on this. I think, okay, maybe 12-1 could be a little bit like the dominance that Georgia had on Michigan. Maybe 2-11 to be the same way, but then you'd start getting great games. I think this is a call, personally, for more teams in to make these playoffs more interesting.
I think that what I believe is that if you are a young football player and you are the best of the best, a 5-star, everybody wants you. If you want to be a part of the playoff now, you basically have 3 choices, maybe 4.
Yeah.
Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. You can take your chance with Georgia, but remember you got to go through Alabama, and they got to be 2 SECs. Oklahoma, to a lesser extent, has been a part of it a number of times. But there just aren't very many choices where you're going to have a shot. And at those places, you're almost guaranteed to have a shot. You're like at those places. When's the last time? I mean, probably the last 8 recruiting classes have all had at least one, and really more than one for all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you expand it, then it doesn't become so exclusive. And I think a great parallel is that in 1975, before the NCAA tournament started to expand, it started to allow multiple teams from the same conference and those sorts of things. And UCLA had won 7 out of 10, and at one point won 88 games in a row. And the feeling for those players was like, if you're Bill Walton, where else would you go?
Right.
If you're Jamal Wilkes, where else would you go? And now, we have only had 2 repeat champions since 1975. Since as the tournament gradually expanded to 64 and now 68, we've had 2 repeat champions in that. What's that? That's now almost 50 years, 47 years. We've had 2 repeat champions, Duke in 91-92 and Florida in 06-07. So that's what we need. We need more teams to have a chance. And when you have more teams that have a chance, then more players will think, well, I can go to my local school, whether it's Tennessee or Pitt or Penn State or wherever. I can go to the school that's near me, or the school that I've always thought they have cool uniforms, whatever it might be,
right.
Or I have a connection to that coach. It doesn't just have to be, well, I have to go to Alabama or I'm not going to make it.
I've also heard this argument too, because there are only so many 5 stars, right, blue chippers that go around, that in order to have these football teams not stockpile the great players, because they all want to go, as you just said, to those glamour schools that they think can win the national title, to cut back scholarships even more. We went from unlimited to, now to 85, to cut that even more. I'm not sure I want to limit those opportunities for those young student athletes to get an education, though.
Yeah, exactly why I would be totally against it. Right now we have 85 free educations at 120 schools. That's, to me, that's what that's about. It's not about trying to make it harder for, you do that by making the competition more honest. And right now we do not have a true honest competition because there's and here's why it's not and honest may not be the exact right word, but because it's not crooked. I mean, you don't have a real competition, because when I begin my season, I don't know what I have to do to get in your playoff. I don't know. You have to pick me, and every other sport that's not the case.
Win your conference, and you know what you have to do to get there. If you go to 12, that could be the way the formula works out. I really do hope that is the case. I'm in agreement with you. All right, one last thing. We got to get a clarification of this, because we've been bantering about this. I think I know the answer, but I just want to, because I've even seen on Twitter media guys wondering, and that is, if you win a game, and it's a quad 1 game, and that is the case of Memphis this past Saturday when they wiped out Wichita State at Charles Koch Arena, which doesn't happen very often. In fact, it was the worst beating in 21 years. But that was a quad 1 win that day. Now the net has changed. They're 77. That doesn't qualify. Now it becomes a quad 2. So really and truly, to add up quad 1 wins, quad 2 wins, quad 3 wins, you have to wait till the end of the year, because it's the final net ranking that really counts in the eyes of the NCAA committee. Is that the fair and correct assumption?
Absolutely true. No question. It's it feels like a quad one when you go into Wichita, and it may yet be again. What you hope in those circumstances is you hope that after you kick their behinds, that then they go out and start winning and make that win more valuable. That's how it has to be. As you know, and that's why you root for teams in your conference. That's why you root for them to do well out of conference. That's why you want them to be good. And so, like a UCF beating Michigan was a great win for Memphis.
Yeah.
On Saturday.
Then of course they turn around and lose at SMU and play terribly. So, but that's conference play, right? I mean, that's what we've come to expect. All right, real quick, I think we've only got about 30 seconds. You're doing this 50 greatest seasons, right? And you're doing some individuals. At this point, greatest single season by anybody that you've researched.
Well, I actually it was we published it this last week, right before Christmas, so maybe almost 2 weeks ago, and so the full list is up there at Sporting News, and Ryan Fagan, our baseball writer, our terrific baseball writer, did the final research and ordered it for us. We all had nominations. Put our parts in, and for me, my day was my work was done when I made sure that Tony Dorsett's 1976 season was on the list. To me that was essential. Tony, I was still a student in high school then, and Pitt did not always draw great, even with a superstar like Dorsett on the roster. They did not draw great. So what they would do was they would offer like $2 tickets for particular games to local high school students, kind of as a recruiting tool, get you on campus and, see it's fun to go to Pitt games or whatever. So I saw almost every game every home game in his senior season.
But you know what? He wasn't Dorsett then. He was Dorset, if I recall correctly.
He became Dorset like the ninth game that year. I don't know exactly why he changed it.
Yeah.
It sounded cool. I think what it came down to was it sounded cool. I mean, I've always believed that.
Yeah.
Because growing up, he never said his name was Dorset. That was Dorset. It was always Dorset. But anyway, so that was he was just phenomenal to watch. Playing the game so smooth, so he accelerated so quickly. They had the tearaway jerseys then before they outlawed them, and you have no idea how many guys were left with a handful of jerseys.
Oh yeah,
because,
we're gonna have to go to the website and make sure we see that. Thank you as always. We appreciate it. We'll talk a little bit more college hoops next week. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
And that'll do it. We got to thank our good friend Bruce Howard, Jeff Moore, and, of course, the Hall of Famer Mike DeCourcy. Don't forget that game tonight late at FedEx Forum. And our title sponsor for this hour of the show, we're always grateful to Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. Don't go anywhere. Johnny Radio is next. Have a great day, everybody.